It started with a vision for how the internet should work, how it could work.
It really should be possible for anyone to just kind of wave their hand and carve out a piece of cyberspace and create a world of their own.
But the technology to achieve such a vision simply did not exist.
There's no way that you can have really high throughput and also have all these security and fairness properties. I was able to convince myself it's not possible. And I set it aside, and it would come back and haunt me. And it would keep nagging at me. And so I would pick it up again and set it aside again. And this kept going for years.
3 years later, Lehman had a breakthrough, the hashgraph consensus algorithm. In 2015, Manson Lehman founded Swirls to battle test the algorithm in private permissioned environments. And the following year, Lehman published the technical paper. But in order to realize the vision of a fairer, more secure digital future for all, the world needed a trust layer, a public ledger built on hashgraph.
Okay, it looks like we are down to the final seconds here.
3, 2, 1. Open access.
The network is open. As of this moment, we have council member nodes online, ready to take transactions from anyone, anywhere in the world.
Since open access, Hedera has witnessed exponential growth on the network, with billions of real-world transactions, hundreds of applications, and tens of thousands of ecosystem developers. The Hedera Council has gone from strength to strength, growing to 29 members on 6 continents, stewarding the network responsibly and ensuring its longevity for generations to come. Hello, future.
Hello, Hedera community, and hello, future. Welcome to the May 2024 community call. My name is Mika. I'm the community development rep here at Swirls Labs for Hedera, and I'm so happy to be here with you all today. So in today's call, we have a great lineup of DeFi primitives on the Hedera network. We will be exploring how you can use your HBARs within the Hedera ecosystem. So before we begin, just a quick disclaimer that this is not endorsed by Hedera. Hedera does not encourage you to participate in any of these protocols. This is for informational and educational purposes only, so be sure that you do your own research before you choose to interact with any protocols. Also, before we begin, I'd like to let everybody know that this is being recorded, so if you miss out or have to drop early, it will be available in the future. Also, the presenters will be taking questions, so we can see all of your questions. So if you have any questions for anyone who's presenting, please feel free to ask them in the comments section, either on YouTube or on X, and the speakers will get to them if they want to. So let's start with a quick introduction of the speakers. So please give a 30-second intro. I'm sorry about my dog. 30-second intro of who you are and your protocol. So let's start with Brady.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me on. My name is Brady Gentile. I previously worked at Swirls Labs / Hedera for about 5.5 years. Around 5 months ago, embarked on this journey to start building Bonzo Finance. Bonzo is a open source a decentralized lending and borrowing protocol that's based on Aave v2 for the Hedera network. And I'll pass it over. We'll do popcorn Tegan.
Hey everyone, my name is Tegan. I'm the ecosystem lead at Supra. Supra Oracles essentially utilizes layer 1 security guarantees to solve the Oracle problem. And we're here to service the Hedera community by providing price feeds for crypto and Hedera native assets.
Hello everyone, I'm Jika, and I talk on the B-side of Serio Finance. I'm the founder of Serio Finance. We are the first lending and borrowing protocol on Hedera that is poised to use AI for advanced risk management. I'm an engineer and a coder, and I'm more than happy to started this journey a few months ago, back to 8 months ago.
Maybe I'll go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Vansh. I'm the business lead at Stader Labs. Stader Labs is at the forefront of liquid staking on the Hedera ecosystem. As a seasoned protocol in the ecosystem, we have been in the forefront of driving innovation and unlocking the potential of DeFi on the network. Our liquid staking product, which is EdgeBarX, has garnered significant traction, currently at a TVL of around $41 million at current prices.
Hi all, I am Michiel Mulders and I'm Developer Relations at Hedera and I'm leading the marketing area.
Hey Mika, we just did a quick round of intros.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for the quick introductions. So before we get to the first speaker, let's run over some of the basics of staking. So Hedera is a proof of stake network. That means that the network is secured by the stake of the native asset, which is HBAR. So if you have HBAR, you can contribute to the security of the network by staking it to a node of your choice. So this is how the network operates. This is how it keeps going. And in order to reward you or incentivize you to stake to the network and contribute to its security, when you stake your assets, you will earn a reward. So a percentage of the transaction fees will be issued to you for staking your rewards. So this is how staking works on Hedera. You can stake natively within your wallets. You can choose which nodes that you stake your HBARs to. But beyond that, there exists another type of staking, which is called liquid staking, which is what Stader will introduce to us. So I'll pass it over to Vansh at Stader. So Vansh, if you could start by giving us a quick, tell us what the difference is between native staking and liquid staking on Stader, and then go into how users can use the protocol and benefit from it.
Absolutely. So first of all, I would just want to mention that we are sincerely, thankful to the foundation for the recent grant that has come in, and very recently this grant has allowed us to increase the rewards on the liquid staking front. So now with EdgeBarX, even at a current TVL, which is upwards of $40 million, we are able to give out higher rewards of upwards of 5%. And the reward rate is likely going to be high for the coming months as well as we scale our TVL. And beyond $50 million is when it will start to taper off. But I'm really thankful to the foundation to sort of increase the reward rate and eventually propel the DeFi ecosystem forward with liquid staking. Coming to your question, Mika, liquid staking on Hedera is fundamentally different from native staking. It sort of acts as a gateway to the world of DeFi. It allows you to unlock capital efficiency, unlock greater rewards now with the grant also kicking in, and also access instant liquidity through DEXs. We are already live on a couple of DEXs, leading ones such as Saucer Swap, Hilly Swap, Pangolin. And then by liquid staking EdgeBar with EdgeBarX, users can participate in these DeFi opportunities while continuing to earn staking rewards. So it essentially allows you to enter the world of DeFi and earn even more rewards and unlock a whole set of DeFi use cases.
Thank you. Right. So basically, when you stake natively to the network, you're putting your HBARs in the network, and then they kind of just stay there. But with liquid staking, what's happening is you're staking your HBARs, but then you're getting HBARX in return, which you can then use within other DeFi protocols within the ecosystem, hence capital efficiency. Awesome. Okay, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, I think that is on point. So broadly, it's about the fact that you get capital efficiency with the liquid derivative, which you can then park on DeFi. I mean, right now we're available on DEXs, all the leading ones which are there in the Hedera ecosystem. But soon money markets are also going to go live, which I'm super excited about. Sirio and Bonzo are here as well. So with money markets coming in, a whole lot of new borrowing use cases will be unlocked, and that will even that's going to propel the DeFi ecosystem even more forward. So super pumped about that. And if I were to give you some stats, even today when money markets are not live, over 30% of EdgeBarX is currently placed on DeFi protocols, the DEXs that I just mentioned. and it allows all the users to sort of earn additional rewards through the liquidity provision which is on there. So it just gives you a sense of how active the community has become with respect to participating in these DeFi strategies. And I think once money markets like Sirio and Bonzo kick in, this will only expand the DeFi landscape on Hedera. So yeah, super pumped about that.
Yeah, we're definitely super excited about it also. I think we've been waiting for a while for lending and borrowing, so that's super exciting. Did you want to share with us a little bit of a demo of how we can use your protocol?
Absolutely. I can do a quick demo on how you can use Stader to stake edge bar with us. Let me know if you can see my screen.
We can see it.
Awesome. This is how the UI looks once you land on the Stader app. Basically, you come to staderlabs.com and you see multiple chains. I've already opened the app. You just have to simply select Hedera and this is where you land. Once you do that, you can see some key metrics here with respect to what is the TVL, what is the current staking reward rate, what is the reward per epoch right now, and then also what is the exchange rate. So HBARX, our token, follows an exchange rate mechanism where the value of HBARX with respect to the base token, which is HBAR, continuously keeps on increasing. So when the product launched, one HBARX was equal to one HBAR. But given that we've been live for almost 2 years now, the exchange rate has come to 1.28. So whoever, for example, staked with us on day 1 or day 0 has been able to make a 28% return already. And this continues to go up perpetually, right? And if I were to show you as to how to go about the staking process, first you have to connect your wallet, which appears on the top right. So for example, here my hashback is already connected, but you can simply connect that in just a single click. It takes a couple of seconds. Once you do that, you can see what is the available HBAR and HBARX amount with you. If you haven't staked already, this is where your balance HBAR shows up. So if I put an amount here, let's say 1 HBAR or whatever, let's say here it is saying the minimum is 1.01. So let's say if I put 2, the reason I'm getting that is because it has to cover for the transaction cost as well. So the amount has to be a tad bit higher, although we don't have any minimums or maximums as such. Once you enter the amount, you have to approve staking. So once you do that, this is just going to go through. It will take a couple of seconds. I have to enter my password. Once you do that, you'll get a prompt whether you want to approve the transaction or not. You simply approve it. It'll take a couple of seconds to execute. This is done. Just a second. Yeah. So it says the transaction is successful here, and now you can stake it. Yeah, it's done. So as you can see, I minted new HBARX. So that has been added to my wallet. So if I were to see on my hashback wallet right now, it will show some new HBARX. So since I already have some minted, maybe the delta won't be visible to you, but in the process, I just minted some new HBARX. So that's what just happened. So this is a super simple process in terms of how you stake. But let's say you want to go one level ahead and you want to participate in DeFi as well. Now, there are two options that you have. Either you can go to the DeFi opportunity of your choice if you've already made your mind. If not, we also have a page where you can see the DeFi opportunities where HBARX can be deployed. So for example, here are all the DEXs which are live. You can see what is the liquidity there and what is the APR. And then you can decide basis that where is it that you want to park your liquidity. You simply click on add liquidity in front of the option that makes sense to you. And you can go to the DApp and just, start deploying your money there. So that's how the process typically works. It is very seamless and usually takes just a couple of seconds to complete.
Yeah, that was very seamless. Thank you so much for walking us through that demo. Very informative. So we have a question in the audience. I don't know if you want to answer it.
Sure.
So the question is, can you stake your HBAR on Stader Labs with a ledger?
That option is not available right now, but we are in active talks with Ledger to support HBAR staking.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing. If there are any questions for the presenters that have gone in the past, we can address them at the end as well. So we can do that also. So thank you so much, Vansh. That was really amazing. So now the users have their HBAR staked with you. They have their HBAR X and they can use it in other DeFi protocols. So now we're going to explore lending and borrowing, because hypothetically you could potentially use HBAR X in lending and borrowing. If it were online, that could be a possibility. So when we talk about lending and borrowing, of course, we know what that means in the real world in traditional finance, but what does it mean on chain? So I'll pass that over to Brady. And Brady, if you could give us a quick rundown on the differences there, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, liquid staking is very important, and it does lend itself well to lending and borrowing. For lending and borrowing specifically on chain versus off chain, in traditional finance, when you perform lending and borrowing, you're typically doing so through a trusted intermediary. So a bank would be an example of that. Someone who's essentially facilitating loans out to individuals who need them, and they're also holding assets by people who are keeping their funds in the bank. Typically, what happens is a bank is actually taking a outsized portion of the APY that's generated from people who are taking out loans. So you may deposit your cash into an account at the bank. The bank is going to use that cash to be able to lend out to individuals who are looking for loans, and the bank keeps a significant amount of the interest that's paid. With decentralized lending and borrowing on chain, it is very much so peer-to-peer. So when you're using these lending and borrowing protocols, the folks who are supplying their assets that are being lent for people who are borrowing them, the lenders receive a significant portion of the APY that's generated from those who are borrowing it. So, at no point does any sort of trusted organization actually touch or manage any of the funds. It's all done through smart contracts on a public ledger. And, the benefit to users is that it's instant settlement. You can take out loans instantly, and, users who are lending reap the rewards of the APY that's generated by folks who are borrowing those assets. So it's a much more sort of fair, transparent way of going about doing lending and borrowing. And today, we're using crypto assets because that's just where the market is at its current state in Web3. But my anticipation is that on the long term, you'll be able to borrow beyond crypto assets. You can lend out RWAs. You can collateralize RWAs and take out loans. So a lot of this sort of underlying standards and technologies are going to be the same when it comes to traditional finance sort of adapting to these new standards.
Thank you. Yeah, and you are launching Bonzo Finance, which will be one of the first lending and borrowing platforms on Hedera. So would you like to give us some updates with Bonzo, maybe walk us through a demo? I'll share
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. So I'm sharing my screen now. I'll do a few slides here just to give a brief overview of Bonzo Finance, and then we'll jump into a quick demo of the protocol. So Bonzo Finance is an open source, non-custodial lending and borrowing protocol that's built on the Hedera network. We have 5 founding team members today, and then 2 advisors who are actually ex-Hedera / Swirls Labs individuals as well. The Bonzo Finance protocol is based on Aave v2. So we essentially took the Aave v2 code base that's been battle tested through many different technical and economic scenarios on Ethereum. It's the most utilized lending and borrowing protocol on the Ethereum network as well as other networks. And we've adapted it to Hedera's EVM and native Hedera token service. And then, on this call, we'll actually get to dive in a little bit to oracles with Supra, but Bonzo Finance utilizes Supra and will eventually utilize Pythoracles as well for on-chain data feeds, which are really important in order for the functionality to be useful on Bonzo Finance. With Bonzo Finance, you can supply cryptocurrency assets to collateralize it and take out loans or just for yield. You can borrow any of the supported cryptocurrency assets. Again, you can earn yield for supplying liquidity to the protocol. We are implementing a point system that I'm really excited about. So if you look at lending protocols across other networks in Web3 today, like Camino or MarginFi, many of them are utilizing this points incentive program. And we're going to be doing the same thing, but the twist on this for us is we're using the HCS20 standard for this point system. So HCS20 is a standard that's built on the Hedera consensus service that's created by the community. Shout out to Patches and everyone who helped contribute to that. It essentially creates a verifiable, transparent, and auditable points. So instead of using a database, you have these points that sort of persist on chain. And then in addition, there's an NFT utility aspect of it. We are doing an NFT sale in June. So you can visit our website and learn a little bit more about the NFTs and the utility for that. But one of those is a points multiplier if you're holding the NFT and using the protocol. Just a very quick sort of overview of the market in Web3. This data was pulled from DeFi Llama, and it really emphasizes the importance of lending and borrowing and sort of the outsized impact that it makes across the entirety of Web3 and the many networks that exist. Today, it's around 44% of all TVL across every sort of DeFi product category that exists. And we anticipate that extending itself to the Hedera ecosystem as well. So the anticipation is that lending and borrowing on Hedera is also going to continue to have this outsized impact when it comes to unlocking liquidity that previously was locked up for various reasons and contributing to adoption and usage of the Hedera network. And that's super important. Along with that, our mission really is to help build a better Hedera DeFi 2.0 ecosystem. And we're contributing to that through the development of a robust, user-friendly, and most importantly, economically sustainable protocol. So, the direct impacts that we anticipate making is just an increase in daily active accounts on the Hedera network, a boost in total value locked, increasing the liquidity and utilization of stable coins, and creating the emergence of these credit markets and new analysis and ways of interacting with DeFi on Hedera. Indirectly, we think that this is ultimately going to increase sort of the trading volume that exists on DEXs. Additionally, the utilization of token-based applications, if you're able to borrow assets for these apps and bring them into them, we anticipate greater usage of them. And then additionally, just overall a greater awareness of Hedera, as the ecosystem matures and people take notice. Lending and borrowing is a big sort of function of that. So again, key health metrics, things that we're tracking that is driving our strategy is around the total value locked for Hedera, the fee revenue that's generated for Bonzo in order to ensure economic sustainability. We're also looking at the fee revenue that's generated for Hedera. The Hedera network today is driven with regards to revenue that is unsubsidized primarily through the retail ecosystem. And we want to help contribute to Hedera's revenue through Bonzo Finance, folks who are paying transaction fees, buying HBAR on market, paying transaction fees to utilize the protocol, and then daily active users and the utilization, which is the borrow rates for assets. For use cases, so there's sort of three primary user personas that we're targeting. So retail and institutional users is one of those. I won't go through all of these, and I'll share the slide deck afterwards, but there's a number of different reasons why someone might want to use a lending and borrowing protocol. And these use cases are very sort of agnostic to any lending and borrowing protocol across various DeFi ecosystems on different networks. And so, we want to do our best to help educate the Hedera ecosystem around, what types of things lending and borrowing offers, and sort of how best to incorporate this into the various activities that users are partaking in. And then developers is another target user persona for us. So there's sort of two key things that we're imminently focused on with regards to developers, and it's ensuring that they know how to build flash loans using smart contracts. So essentially what flash loans are is the ability to instantly take out a large loan and utilize those funds all within a single atomic transaction. So maybe it's arbitrage between two decentralized exchanges on Hedera. Rather than having to put up collateral in order to take out that loan, they can build this contract, take out their funds, perform a certain transaction, and then pay back the loan all within a single transaction. And if for whatever reason they're unable to pay back the loan, everything as part of that ends up reversing. So it's a relatively safe way to utilize the protocol without having to put up collateral. And then in addition to that, the liquidation bot ecosystem. So, at various points in time, and we hope to try and mitigate this as much as possible, especially early on. But, if users are supplying collateral and borrowing against it, but the value of that collateral drops below a certain threshold, a liquidation takes place. And essentially it's up to the ecosystem to build these liquidation bots to be able to perform that liquidation, earn a reward for doing so, and help keep the protocol and its users and folks lending funds safe. And I'll jump into a demo now. Okay, so this is the Bonzo Finance dashboard. And the first thing we're going to do is connect our wallet. So today we have Hashpack on testnet as the supported wallet. So we'll do this, approve. We'll see the account that I have on the testnet is now connected. To start out using the protocol, you need to supply funds in order to be able to borrow. Essentially, borrowing works by providing funds to the protocol in an over-collateralized fashion, and then you can borrow against a certain percentage of the value that you've supplied. So we're going to go to our fully supported asset list here. And these are the HTS assets that we're looking to initially support on Bonzo Finance once it launches in Q3 of 2024. And what we'll do is, let's say we want to supply USDC. So we'll go here and click supply. And then we're going to enter the amount of USDC that we want to supply. So let's say we want to do $7 worth of USDC. You'll see that there's an APY associated with supplying USDC. So in this instance, you can earn 1.32% APY. Because we haven't supplied anything yet, these figures are not available yet, but they will be when we go to borrow or if we supply more assets after first supplying. So we'll click supply USDC. We'll see that we have to do a token approval in order to send USDC to the protocol. So we'll approve that. And then we will approve supplying USDC to the protocol. And it looks like our supply was successful. And now we have around $7 worth of USDC that's been supplied as collateral to the protocol. Essentially, collateral means that you're able to take out loans against it. And you are able to change this so you can disable it as collateral if you'd like, and that only keeps it as a supply versus being able to borrow against it. And there's various reasons for wanting to do that. We'll see here that based on the it's an over collateralized loan. So based on the amount of USDC that you've supplied, you now have a borrow power of 5.06 cents, and your APY is 1.32%. And then our liquidation loan to value. So essentially what a loan to value ratio is based on how much you've lent to the protocol the percentage of that you can actually borrow against. So we can borrow all the way up to 80% of the total value that's been supplied. Then what we'll do is, let's say we want to borrow X sauce. Actually, let's say we want to borrow karate. One of the use cases, and again, not financial advice here, but one of the use cases that we would anticipate potentially could be for in-app utilization of these assets. So for karate, it's a great example where you could borrow karate against any assets that you have, bring it into the Karate Combat app, and then be able to use that for the various functionalities that the karate application provides. So we'll click borrow here, and we're going to borrow, let's see, we'll borrow 100 karate tokens. And we'll approve this transaction. Ooh. Let's try that one more time. Okay, so we've borrowed one karate asset, and we'll see that appears here. And in borrowing karate, you have an interest APY that you have to pay. So that's a 5.36% APY that you're paying in interest. You'll see here that there's a couple additional figures such as health factor and your loan to value. Essentially with loan to value, what it's saying is that you have essentially borrowed 2.24% of the assets that you've supplied as collateral. And then your health factor, the most important sort of thing to keep in mind for this is a health factor that is reduced to 1. If it goes below that, that indicates that the position that you have is under collateralized. And at that point, and we talked about liquidation bots earlier, anyone who's operating a liquidation bot can come in and perform a liquidation on the assets that you've supplied as collateral. And so those are the basic functionalities of Bonzo Finance. Once you have this at any point in time, you can repay the loan of any of the assets that you've borrowed, and then you can also withdraw funds at any time as well. So very flexible in terms of sort of your ability to instantly provide assets and borrow against those assets.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that was really a great overview of lending and borrowing on chain and the advantages to the end user and to developers as well. So yeah, thank you so much for that overview and for the demo of Bonzo. I think the community is very excited for the launch. So thank you. And if anyone has questions for Brady, feel free to ask them in the comments. We can see them on the side here, or for any of the other presenters, that is. So it's really interesting because lending and borrowing on Hedera would technically not be possible without an Oracle integration. And I think that's why it's taken up until now for lending and borrowing to start developing here. So what is an Oracle and why is it necessary for DeFi? So I'll pass it over to Tegan, who is with Supra, and he can tell us all about it.
Awesome. Thanks for the intro, Mika. So happy to talk more about what is Oracle's, really what the Oracle problem is, give some intro about Supra, and then tie it back into how this correlates to creating a more secure and flourishing DeFi ecosystem for Hedera. So I actually did prepare kind of like a bit of a presentation to introduce Oracle. So let me share my screen for that. There, can you see my screen? Perfect. All right, so why Oracle's needed? Essentially, as you might know, blockchains and smart contracts are isolated and they cannot get access to off-chain information. So oracles are essentially like a middleware to bring off-chain information on-chain for dApps to consume and use. Now, the oracle problem is that due to the fact that blockchains are smart contract run, transactions are irreversible, and the immutable nature of blockchains, it is extremely important that bad data is not allowed in. So how do you create a robust methodology of feeding price feeds in that dApps and developers can utilize for functions such as limit order executions and perps, or like liquidations and perps and lending markets? Because bad data could potentially allow for faulty liquidations, causing users to lose funds, which we don't want to have happen. Now, this is part like where Supra comes in. So some background about Supra: we've been building since 2017. Our team is led by Dr. Annika Kate, who is also the author of KCG Polynomial Commitments, which is essential to kind of the Ethereum scaling roadmap and ZK proof generations. And now our team spans over 100 members, many of whom are PhDs and researchers in cryptography. Why, you might ask, we need such a large team? Well, this really just speaks to the level of the oracle problem and the fact that we're coming out with a novel approach to solve this through layer 1 security guarantees. So getting in a little bit more about our architecture here at Supra. This kind of showcases, so we're working with over 40 different data sources to gather data into our Oracle nodes. We actually call these like clans. There's kind of a aggregator node, so agreement phase of this process, an approval process. And then we also have a fallback protocol in case of disagreement or inconsistent values. Furthermore, our architecture for coming to consensus about these values utilizes clans, which is a rotating node architecture. Here you can see that we're randomly reshuffling nodes throughout different clans, which each clan has a designated job function. Why do we do this? The reason is that when you have a node that is stale and only has one job function for a prolonged period of time, game theory suggests that this node is incentivized to eventually collude. So kind of like summarizing this, and this is like a really brief intro about our DORA protocol. We have a lot of white papers published about this and further info on our website. But what I wanted to get to was kind of the end user feel and the feel for dApps about why this is significant. So one is like the security and robustness that we're able to provide. You're getting the benefits of decentralization through our Oracle chain. So basically the benefits of uptime, reliability, and the security benefits of a blockchain when you consume our Oracle price feeds. But then also, due to like the transparent nature of blockchains, we're also able to provide a transparent historical audit trail by tracking node provenance on our data dashboard. So this means that every interaction with the data from all of our data providers is recorded, accessible, ensuring complete accountability and trust in the integrity of our data. So we take data very seriously. And our kind of story and our values here really coincide, I think, with the story of Hedera and the values of the community. So the next step, once we created this architecture, is how do we make sure it's fast? dApps can actually use this in real world use cases where users aren't waiting forever or having access to very stale data that causes front running. And that is when we came out with our moonshot consensus algorithm, which is a paper that has been peer reviewed, making us the fastest to finality Oracle provider. So there's kind of two factors when evaluating the latency or the fastness of Oracle. One is data freshness, which is essentially how old this data is once the application receives it. Just because you received it after calling it a second ago doesn't mean that this data is a second old. This data could have came to finality 5 or 10 minutes ago, making it quite stale data that opens your application up to front running. Our data freshness is sub-second, between 600 800 millisecond finality time. This is thanks to like the consensus algorithm that our team has created. And our response time for the Oracle is also sub-second, making us very, very tailored for use cases like derivatives markets, which are high frequency and are running liquidations at a very fast time. And also for for money markets and lending and borrowing markets, we provide a very secure and robust architecture to allow for fresh data when handling liquidations. Now, kind of tying this all together and why this is important to a flourishing DeFi ecosystem, and I'm actually taking, this is like a screenshot from Bonzo that previously presented. I'm using this as an example, but we're supporting over 12 different like HBAR native asset pairs. So HBAR X from Stader is one, Karate, X Sauce from like are another ones. And let's take an example of a user that takes their HBAR, stakes it into Stader for HBAR X. They might come to Bonzo, supply this HBAR X for 42% APY. This is testnet, but I mean, some juicy rewards there. And then borrows maybe Sauce, stakes it on Saucer Swap for X Sauce at like 5% APY, puts it back in here, and enjoys like the supply APY for that. That's a lot of transactions that the user just did. And how do you create an ecosystem where all of these transactions are secure and money markets, derivatives, etc., all allow for these asset classes to be supported for users to trade on? And a big part of how we're contributing to the security and like the broader DeFi ecosystem at Hedera is by supporting these type of assets, providing reliable tamper-proof price feeds to them for users to engage in these types of DeFi trading. So we're really like the middleware. We're here to allow for new markets to be created, for new protocols to come up and have their assets be composable and used throughout different lending and borrowing protocols. And we're here to facilitate this.
That was super awesome. Thank you for walking us through that. I definitely learned something.
Super awesome.
Super. Okay. So if developers want to start using the Oracle, where would you send them to? Maybe the documentation or?
Supra.com, SUPRA, and then we have our docs for that. You can also like contact us via Telegram. We have dedicated like DevRel people that are walking through the developers and the integration of our oracles and answering any like technical questions involved.
Awesome, thank you. And we have a question in the comments. Will this oracle be interoperable with other projects outside of Hedera?
That's a great question, actually. So we're very kind of aggressive in supporting new ecosystems. We're already live on over 80 different chains, like mainnets and testnets. So the short answer is yes. Like if you have a cross-chain dApp that is on 10 different chains, the possibility is that we support all of them, and we can allow these assets to be interoperable and used via our oracles throughout all of these ecosystems.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tegan. So oracles are essential to DeFi is what Tegan just said. What's interesting about Sirio, who is another lending and borrowing protocol that will go live on Hedera, which Jika is representing, is that they came to me a while ago and they said, hey, we can actually launch without an oracle, which I thought was really interesting. So Jika, do you want to explain to us what you did with Sirio?
Yes, for sure. I think that it may be helpful if I can share the deck that I prepared. Not the testnet, the deck. Yeah, that's correct. Well, basically, this diagram flow was taken by our slideshow, and we started working on Serio Finance way before we noticed that there should be any other oracle that could operate on Hedera chain. So basically, we had to work on some way where we could provide reliable price feeds without using Oracle. And we basically found this solution thanks to the Hedera SDKs, which allow basically everyone to have a fixed price for their fees. We are basically able to retrieve on chain the price of Hedera in USDC dollar. And what we basically do is call these SDKs in order to retrieve the H-bar price in dollar. On the other side, there are some important DEXs on Hedera. The best DEX we have for TVL is obviously Swap. And when, for example, we want to fetch prices for a specific token, for example, HBarX or HST token, we basically go to the liquidity pool, the liquidity pair between HBAR native token, which we hold the price, and this token as well. And thanks to the formula that is the common formula of Uniswap, we are basically able to allocate the specific price in dollar for the token, thanks to the HBAR dollar value that we can fetch from the Hedera SDK. So let's say that we somehow use a native Oracle thanks to the Hedera SDKs and thanks to the great infrastructure that we are able to use.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I think this probably wouldn't be possible on most other chains without an Oracle as well, because the transaction fees are fixed. That's how you're able to sort of pull the HBAR.
Yeah, that's correct. Basically, we are able to get the most important data, which is the price of Hedera HBAR token in dollar, thanks to the Hedera SDK that basically allow you to submit a transaction for a fixed price. And yeah, that's correct. On any other chain, it's not possible because you have to deal with this volatility of cryptocurrencies assets.
Yeah, volatility of gas fees for sure. Yeah, that is super awesome. So do you want to run us through Sirio and give us some updates on Sirio?
Oh yeah, for sure. There are many other things to talk about when come to Sirio. First of all, I briefly introduce myself. On the behind of Serio Finance, we work 5 developers, and we all have a nice background from inside and outside the chain. For example, our main front-end developer is a Swap co-founder, or our main smart contract engineer is worked on the beside of Alpha Point that basically built the infrastructure for El Salvador to purchase Bitcoins. So we are a really established and good team on the development side, and we can say the same on the advisory side, where we basically have 2 advisory. The first one is Head Starter team. We also joined the Zero Gravity program, and as well as Ash Farms. And basically what we are building is Serio Finance, which is the first lending and borrowing protocol on Hedera. And on Sirio, And Sirio is a DeFi protocol that is used to allow to every users to on Hedera to lend and borrow assets. Thanks to the unparalleled performance of Hedera chain, we are able to provide an anonymous self-custodian permissionless experience that is really good. And we can say that what makes Sirio unique inside and outside the Hedera ecosystem is basically its data-driven approach and implementation of artificial intelligence, or a sub-branch of AI, which is basically the machine learning that is used for risk management of loans. We will talk about this in details in next slides. The first point that we want to highlight is the base of this protocol, which is basically the functionalities of lend and borrow, where everyone can basically lend and borrow assets on Sirio in an easy, fast, and secure manner. We can say easy because we worked so hard in the last months with our closest partners and community members in order to design and update our user interface with intuitive user experience that can basically used by users for any experience levels. On the other side, we can say that Sirio is also really fast as application, thanks to the Hedera technology that we are implementing. And on the other way, we can say that we also take care of safety of our users and funds deposited into the protocol. In fact, we built an architecture from scratch that is inspired by Compound V2. And there is an AI model that is capable of decreasing the risk of liquidation. And thanks to audits from top tiers company, we are able to guarantee the security of assets and users entirely in the protocol. And talking about the AI implementation that we are working on, basically what we will bring by this year is an AI model that basically enable users to borrow assets more prudently, and they basically are more aware of the risk associated to their loans and their borrows. Our model is trained use more than 12 different features, and it will be basically trained on decentralized servers. We will shortly announce the partnership with our hardware provider for that. And thanks to this robust architecture of this model, the model is basically capable of suggesting the risk that is associated to the loan one moment before you submit the transaction, and it basically provides suggestions for mitigating the risk associated to the loan that you are going to submit. And our long-term plan, we will talk about this better later, but is to improve this model and to add more features, such as the suggestion of the correct balance between risk and amount of borrowed tokens, and tailor for other protocols and use it as a B2B service. And the third feature of Serio Finance is its data-driven approach that basically involves the development of a meticulous section that is called analytics, and it basically allows every user to monitor two kinds of statistics. So there are individual stats that are able, where everyone is able to search and track addresses, their balances, health factor status, etc., etc. And on the other side, there are global stats as well that basically guarantee a better transparency from the protocol, where, for example, you can find the total liquidity deposited, total liquidity that is borrowed, the TVL distribution, and many other stuff. We also aim to extend the type of data that you can find inside here. And yeah, that's all. In terms of goal, we divided the goals of Sirio in three steps. There are short-term goals, that is basically to improve HTS tokens liquidity. Tokens liquidity flow thanks to the lending and borrowing logic. Increase the Hedera TVL and educate users on benefits on borrowing, especially on Sirio, thanks to our advanced risk management strategies, why you should borrow, why you should lend, advanced strategy, for example, to stake your HBAR on Stader and supply HBARX on Sirio, and there are a lot of educational contents that we will bring. Then there are mid-term goals, where our aim is basically to attract new users from other chains, and it's only possible with innovation, because many other all other chains already have lending protocols. But if we work together, all together hard on innovation, we basically find one more reason for users to join Hedera ecosystem and increase its TVL. And our long-term goal is to become the leading DeFi protocol that's related to AI adoption, and establish partnership with leading protocols and offer our model and our services as to leading protocols all outside the blockchain scenario. Yeah, I already told about our approach to price feeds while waiting for all the oracles to specifically provide the correct infrastructure. And yeah, last topic that I wanted to mention is that our testnet is live on testnet.serio.finance/app. And we basically are running an incentivation program for all the users, where you can win an OG role, a giveaway of HBAR, and bug bounties as well, if you promote a tweet and you share a feedback and tag Serio Finance account on your X account. And yeah, that's all. This is the end of our slideshow.
Amazing. Thank you for the introduction to Sirio, and thank you for the community incentives. I'm sure everyone's going to be very excited to participate in the giveaways and the incentives and helping you launch to mainnet. So did you also want to run us through the testnet version of your application?
Oh, sure thing. Yeah, all right. Do you all see my screen? Yes, I guess yes. Well, once the page is loaded, you can see the user interface. And the first thing that you have to do in order to start using Sirio is to connect your wallet. We have a wide range of wallets available. And I also want to mention Weird Lab for the great work that we all together did to merge wallet connect requests and allow us to integrate all these wallets. I will go with Hashpack for this time. And yeah, as you can see, in a fraction of seconds, you are able to to lend and borrow on Sirio. You can see in this circle the net API. That is basically a matrix that is calculated by considering the interest positive or negative generated from supply and borrow markets. Then you have all the balances that you hold. So supply balances, collateral balances, which is basically how many dollars you still can borrow, and the borrow balance, which basically indicates how many dollars you already borrowed. On the other side, there is the health factor, which indicates the health of your loans. And it is basically the ratio between the total dollar value and the total of your borrowed assets and total dollar value of your collateral. If you scroll down, you will see the supply markets and the borrow markets. We expect to list on our protocol for the mainnet launch USDC, HST, SOS, XOS, HBAR, HBARX, and HSuite tokens. On the supply markets, you will see the supply APR, which is basically the interest rate that is paid by the borrowers to you for depositing your assets. And also on supply markets, you are able to supply assets that are automatically enabled as collateral. And on the other side, there are borrow markets that you can basically use to borrow assets, and this is the interest that you pay for, annually pay for borrowing those assets. So let's say that I want to supply some USDC. I have an allowed amount of more than $14,000. For example, I will supply 100 USDC tokens. And yeah, that's all. It is as easy and fast as you can see from here. The balance is updated basically in real time. And on the borrow markets, on the available stats, you will be able to see how many tokens you are able to borrow. If you deposit USDC, you are able to borrow any of the other token that is inspired from Compound VC to allow users to enjoy their journey on our lending and borrowing protocol. And on the other side, you can borrow any asset that you want to do. So I don't know, for example, South. We can borrow at max 280 South token. We will borrow, for example, 10 of them. And yeah, that's all. It's as easy as you can see from this screen recording. The balance is updated again. And yeah, this is basically the main workflow. On the other side, you are there is something else that I want to highlight. If you click and try to borrow USDC, you are already able to see how our AI model will work, because when you borrow, there is this example of pop-up where there is the probability of liquidation shown. Obviously, this is so only an example, but this is the specific example of how our AI model will work. And that's all. This is for the dashboard. On the other side, there is the analytics, where you can check individual and global stats, distribution of liquidity all over the protocol, specific market stats. And for example, if you want to track my balances and my data, you can click on search account there is already my account saved. And if you search, you can see the stats that everyone can basically check. Supply balance, collateral balance, borrow balance. Yeah, we have to align better the text, but that's all. And yeah, this is a quick introduction to the protocol testing itself.
Amazing. Thank you so much for running us through that. That is super exciting. Thank you for being here. And we have a comment that I want to address here. I love that this is happening. Congrats on shedding light to the new and amazing projects coming to Hedera, but wondering why isn't H-Liquidity represented? So I just want to shout out H-Liquidity. So they are the third lending and borrowing protocol that will be launching on Hedera. So they're not on today just because there isn't enough time, and we're planning on having future calls with more DeFi and retail focused projects presented. And on that topic, I just want to say that if you have any feedback regarding the community calls, please just leave it in the comments. And we do look at the comments and we like the constructive feedback and we want to hear what you're thinking. So if you have any requests for future projects presented on the community call or the layout of it, we would love to hear it. And before we move on to Michael for some developer updates, there is a question from Stan. Is there AI open sourced is the question for Jika.
Thank you for your question, Stan. Well, since our model will be basically used as a B2B service, we aim to this. We basically propose to make the model open source. We will propose to make open source our model on our governance, and we basically will have to wait for the governance response to make it clear.
Awesome. Thank you, Jika. So, Michael, I'll pass it over to you.
Alrighty. Thanks. All right. So from my side, I will give a quick technical update that's not really related to DeFi. So today I would like to communicate the Hedera consensus mirror node endpoints deprecation. So we are deprecating some of our historical mirror nodes endpoints. I will discuss what it is. I will discuss who's affected, the deprecation timeline, and also to end on a positive note, I will communicate the positive impact of the deprecation. So what's actually changing? Some of you might have seen this before, that if you wanted to query HCS-specific information from the mirror node, you were using the hcs.environment.mirror node endpoints on the port 5600. These are actually insecure endpoints, and to improve our services, we have migrated these endpoints to the new 443 endpoints, and the format has also slightly changed. So everything is on the root URL, and you can just use the environment. So it becomes previewnet.mirrornode, testnet.mirrornode, and you can just query using the API filters for it. It's not a big change, and you can still use the old ones for a while. So the main people that are affected by these changes are developers on Preview or Testnet that are still using these old proxies using the 5600 port. And also, if you're using an SDK version that's lower than the ones below, so for Java it's version 2.20 of the SDK, for JavaScript it's version 2.22, and for Go version 2.23. So if you're using versions lower than these, they still implement these old ports, so it's important to update to the latest version of our SDKs, and then you should be good to go because the SDKs implement the new endpoints as well. So what does the deprecation timeline look like? So we're now doing the initial notification until the week of June 10th. We will remind you another time mid-cycle somewhere around September 9th, and the actual deprecation will happen on November 11th. which will give you 6 months of time to migrate. So in short, why are we actually doing this? We're trying to remove this insecure gRPC port in favor of a secure TLS domain and port. And we're also trying to improve our services, ensuring that all the traffic is routed through secure and reliable channels. So by upgrading to new endpoints, users will benefit from like increased stability and also better security, and they will get just like a better overall experience. So if you have any questions, make sure to reach out on Discord. We can give you there more support if you need to. So that was my quick technical update.
Awesome. Thanks, Mihail. And the deprecation timeline will continue to be communicated through the developer newsletter, I imagine?
Yeah, it will come through the developer newsletter, and resources will be created to guide people as well.
Okay, amazing. And yes, if anyone has any questions regarding this technical update, as Mihail mentioned, head over to the Hedera Discord. There you can find support for any developers building on Hedera. So amazing, everybody. This was a successful community call. Thank you all for being here today. It was great to have everyone presenting. Thank you to the community for tuning in, and we will see you all next month. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.